The dust kicked up under my tires as I pulled into the gravel driveway of my 150-acre cattle ranch in northern Montana. It was July 10th, 2024, and I'd just cut my trip to Colorado short by 5 days. My dad had pulled through his heart surgery faster than the doctors expected, and I was itching to get back to the open fields, the lowing of my herd, and the quiet sunrises that made this place home. But as my truck rolled closer, my stomach dropped. There, in my front yard, was a full-blown auction. Folding tables were strewn with clipboards, tape measures, and what looked like foreclosure sale banners flapping in the wind. A woman in a cheap hard hat and a utility belt that screamed, "Ordered online," was directing a handful of suits taking notes on my land. My land. This was no mistake. This was a setup. I'm Ethan Caldwell, and I've been running this ranch for 15 years, ever since my mom passed. It's not much, just a modest spread of rolling hills and grazing cattle, but it's my whole world. The trouble started when Mom got sick, and the medical bills stacked up faster than I could pay them. I fell behind on property taxes, owing $25,000 to the county. 6 months ago, a woman named Laura Hensley showed up, calling herself a property recovery specialist. She had slick business cards, a polished website, and a stack of official-looking paperwork. She claimed she bought my tax lien from the county and could work out a payment plan to save my ranch. "I'm not here to take your home," she'd said with a smile that felt too rehearsed. "I help people keep what's theirs." I bought it. Why wouldn't I? She seemed like my lifeline. What I didn't know was that Laura wasn't just some small-time lien buyer. She worked part-time at the county tax office, giving her access to details about my payment struggles and personal life that no ordinary creditor could touch. When Dad had his emergency surgery in Denver, I had no choice but to drop everything and fly out to help him navigate insurance forms and rehab appointments. The doctors said it'd be 2 weeks minimum, so I called Laura to let her know I'd be gone but would pick up payments when I returned. She was all sympathy, even offering to keep an eye on the ranch. I thought I was being smart, responsible. I had no clue I'd walked into a trap she'd been setting since the day she bought my lien. Dad's recovery beat the odds, and by day 8, the nurse said he was steady enough for me to head home. I figured I'd surprise him by getting back early and maybe ease back into ranch life. The drive up to my place felt good, cattle grazing in the distance, fences standing tall, everything just as I'd left it. Then I saw Laura's setup, and my blood turned to ice. She was running a full-on property inspection, with 3 men in suits measuring my land like it was already theirs. When Laura spotted my truck, her face flickered with panic before she snapped into action. She grabbed her phone, dialed 911, and started spinning a story about a dangerous individual disrupting her legal proceedings. Legal proceedings? On my own damn ranch. As she ranted to the dispatcher, I caught her whispering into a second phone. He wasn't supposed to be back till Sunday. Tell them to speed up the hospital deal. Hospital deal? What the hell was she talking about? I stepped out of my truck, keys in hand, ready to confront her, but she doubled down, waving documents and claiming I'd abandoned the property. The deputy who showed up was young, clearly out of his depth, and bought Laura's act hook, line, and sinker. She flashed papers that said my ranch was set for a tax sale in 4 days, on Tuesday, when I was supposed to still be in Colorado. If I hadn't come back early, I'd have lost everything without even knowing. Laura didn't stop there. Over the next 3 days, she turned my life into a nightmare. She showed up daily, setting up her ridiculous tables and taking measurements, each time calling 911 for absurd reasons. Once, because I asked her to move her car so I could get my cattle trailer out. "He's removing assets from a foreclosure property," she screamed into the phone. Another time, when I was mending a fence post, she reported me for damaging foreclosure assets. The kicker? She called 911 while I was feeding my herd, claiming my uncontrolled livestock was ruining the premises. My cattle, eating hay in their own pasture, like they've done for 15 years. Even the dispatcher started sounding fed up, asking if she was reporting an actual emergency. My neighbor, Tom Harlan, a grizzled rancher who's been working the land next door for 2 decades, caught wind of the chaos and stopped by with a casserole his wife made. Laura, true to form, called 911 again, reporting suspicious individuals gathering on foreclosure property. Tom, suspicious? The man's 60 and brought me food. But Tom wasn't just there to check on me. He pulled me aside and dropped a bombshell. Laura had tried the same stunt on him last year. She'd approached him about property compliance issues, knowing details about his travel plans and his wife's medical appointments, things he'd never shared. Tom had been documenting her antics, snapping photos of her scoping out ranches when owners were away, always knowing exactly when they'd be vulnerable. I dove into research and found a sliver of hope. Montana law gives property owners a 72-hour redemption period to pay off a lien, even after a sale notice. The catch? Laura was now demanding $35,000 my original debt plus inspection fees and interest. Something didn't add up. Why was she so rattled by my early return? Why the frantic calls about accelerating timelines? I drove to the county courthouse and dug into public records. Laura had bought my lien 6 months ago, but it had first been sold to a company called Healthland Holdings LLC, then transferred to her for $1. $1. That screamed collusion, and the mention of hospital deal kept nagging at me. The next morning, Laura was back, this time with a new suit taking photos. I called out, "Laura, I've got the $35,000. Let's settle this." Her face twisted with rage. She didn't want my money. She wanted my land. That evening, Tom showed me a photo from the county fair. In the background, Laura sat with a woman in scrubs and a man in a suit, poring over papers and a map. Later, he'd glimpsed a notebook in her car with a list of 12 ranchers' names, mine included, marked in progress. 7 others were labeled complete. Then, in her car, I found a business card for Dr. Sarah Ellison, administrator at Denver General Hospital where my dad was treated. Desperate, I took a risk. While Laura was measuring my back pasture, I peeked into her unlocked car. Her notebook listed local ranchers, with names I knew, families who'd lost land in the last 2 years. Clipped to it was Dr. Ellison's card. I snapped photos and got out before she returned, but not before overhearing her say, "He's asking too many questions." Move to Plan B. Plan B? The foreclosure was already set for Tuesday. What could be worse? Tom and I drove to Denver General and spotted the woman from the fair photo DR. Ellison, head of patient records. She had access to admission dates, discharge plans, and family contacts. If she was feeding Laura intel, they could target ranchers when they were out of town, rushing foreclosures before anyone could react. A newspaper article Tom found tied it together. A new medical complex was planned for northern Montana, needing hundreds of acres. Healthland Holdings was quietly buying up land to avoid price spikes. Laura wasn't just a lean shark, she was part of a scheme to snatch ranches for this project, using stolen medical data to strike when owners were distracted. The foreclosure sale was set for 10 a.m. the next day. I'd scraped together $35,000 with an emergency loan against my truck and help from Tom. At the courthouse, Laura was in her element, wearing a sash labeled Tax Lien Recovery Specialist, like she was auditioning for a reality show. A dozen investors and 20 neighbors showed up, buzzing about the scandal. When the clerk read my ranch's details, Laura bid $25,000. I stepped forward with my cashier's check, declaring my redemption rights. The clerk hesitated. Laura claimed the redemption period ended at midnight. But Tom laid out our evidence. Fake mail receipts sent to a non-existent address, missing newspaper notices, and Laura's own words about the hospital deal, recorded by Tom's phone. Laura, panicking, made her fatal mistake. She called 911 in front of everyone, claiming I was disrupting a legitimate sale with fabricated documents. Then she slipped, ranting about how my interference was costing her investors in a medical center expansion. The crowd gasped. She'd just exposed her own scheme. The deputy, skeptical from the start, checked her credentials and found her business license was expired and issued in Wyoming, not Montana. As he ran her info, Laura called someone named Paul, demanding backup from the hospital people. The deputy's eyes narrowed, admitted to using patient data. Federal agents rolled in. Tom had tipped the FBI the night before. Agent Maria Torres pulled me aside, showing a map with dozens of red pins across Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado. Laura's operation had hit 63 families, causing $8 million in losses. Dr. Ellison, sentenced to 4 years, had been selling patient data for 3 years. The real gut punch? My own loan officer, Paul Grayson, was feeding Laura info about struggling clients, including me, driven by gambling debts. Laura's sentencing was a circus. Representing herself, She presented a PowerPoint on property recovery ethics and called 911 from the courtroom, claiming a miscarriage of justice. The dispatcher, recognizing her voice, shut her down. She got 6 years and $8 million in restitution. My ranch was cleared, and I got enough restitution to expand my herd. New laws now protect patient data and tighten foreclosure rules. Tom's a local legend, speaking at property rights seminars. Laura? Still filing complaints from prison, even trying to call 911 about substandard laundry conditions. Some people never quit, but questions linger. Who else knew about this scheme? How many more Lauras are out there? Was the medical complex the real endgame, or is something bigger still hidden? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more wild stories. What would you do if someone tried to steal your home like this? Could you spot a scam this slick?